WPIAL podcast on the Trib Live High School Sports Network. We are here thanks in part to our good friends at Edgar Snyder and Associates, helping injured people since 1982. Stay local. Go with EdgarSnyder.com. EdgarSnyder.com. If you need their help, they will be there and have been doing so for a long time. Thanks to our friends at Edgar Snyder and Associates for sponsoring the Rebel Yell podcast. Very first WPIAL Baseball Player of the Week postseason edition, as the WPIAL first round is in the books, quarterfinals and semifinals coming up next week. What a performance by this young man. He is South Park senior Cooper Hochendoner. Phenomenal in a victory over Keystone Oaks to move the Eagles into the quarterfinals next week. Cooper, we appreciate you joining us. Congrats on your success.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me on here.
You've accomplished a lot, and we'll talk about it. You're a three-sport star, having wrapped up your soccer career at South Park, your basketball career, and winding down your baseball career. You've accomplished a lot in all three sports. Was the first round victory over Keystone Oaks got to be up there as far as your single game achievements?
Yeah, I mean, throwing a no-hitter and a perfect game to the last batter, there's not very much to top it. I've played in some big playoff games, won 2 WPIAL championships with my soccer team, but for myself as a player, that was definitely up there for one of my best performances for sure.
Yeah. Coach Fisher said afterward that Corey Fisher mentioned that this was your best game of the year. Do you recall how many no-hitters that you have thrown either in high school or in your young career?
Yeah, I threw one last year against East Allegheny. It was a drop third strike actually on the first batter. If it wasn't for that, it would have been a perfect game.
Oh.
So I'm kind of used to things like that, I guess.
Wow,
but
agonizing ways to lose a perfect game, which, as you said yesterday, that's as good as it gets, and it's very rare. Your future college teammate, you guys can chat about that, with Zach Hare, Riverside, and all he has accomplished, including a perfect game in the WPIAL championship game. Yeah, doing it in a playoff game, a no-hitter in a playoff game is amazing. But a complete game. This wasn't one of those 5-inning, no-hitters. This was went the distance, was tight. In fact, it was scoreless through the first 4 innings. When did you know? Like some pitchers will say that when they're warming up, oh man, I think I got it. I think I got my good stuff. But when did you know that you were really cooking with fire in that game against Keystone Oaks?
I'd say after the first inning, honestly. The first inning is the most important because if you can get through their top of the order in the first inning, you gain a lot of confidence. So I got through. I think I struck out all 3 of them, and it just gave me a lot of a confidence, and that confidence also turns to me as a hitter too. So I would say after the first inning, probably.
At what point did you realize that you had not allowed a base runner?
I think it was in like the 4th or 5th inning. I knew they didn't have a hit on me, but I wasn't even thinking about like, oh, don't walk this kid, don't walk this kid. It was just to pound the strike zone, and I did realize in the 4th or 5th, I'm like, I actually have a perfect game going right now, but I didn't let it affect me at all. It was just the same approach I always take as a pitcher.
You can't blame me because we have the code of conduct in the broadcaster's manual that you can't even mention the term no hitter during a game. So I stuck to that. Do your teammates treat you any different as the game is going on and getting closer to making history?
They did what they were supposed to do. They didn't say anything about a perfect game, no hitter. They just treated it as,
Right.
hey, good job, Coop. Good job, Coop. Keep throwing strikes. And they didn't mention it. So, hats off to them.
It was a collective groan. I know you at the time. You're facing Nate Rowe, who he himself pitched a marvelous game for Keystone Oaks. Last hope, top of the seventh, nobody on, 2 out. You go to 3 balls. He gets 2 strikes, fouls off, I think 2 or 3 pitches, 2 strike pitches to stay alive. And then you throw the pitch that ended up as ball 4. You sort of slumped over on the mound. There was a collective groan, and not only from South Park fans, but I think in the fans who had no rooting interest were wrapped up in everything as well. You said that you felt it was ball 4, right?
Yeah, it was definitely ball 4. The umpire was great all game. So I definitely wasn't going to argue that that call was a strike because I do think it was a ball.
It's funny. We had Mark Miserak's his name, the home plate umpire, and he's one of the best.
Yeah.
I had him on Monday at West Mifflin, and both at West Mifflin and at Joe Mays Field in Peterswood Park, we're up high above home plate, so you get a great view of the strike zone. And he was giving that outside corner. Do you as a pitcher try to find out what you can get away with as far as those borderline calls, and do you try to pound that area once you find out?
Yeah, I always start with at the beginning of the game to just pound strikes, honestly, because you don't know what you're gonna get. If you try to
Right,
paint
right.
corners early in the game, they might call balls, and you don't want runners in the beginning of the inning. So, just pound it right in the strike zone. And like you said, he was giving me the outside, and that's how I like to live as a pitcher. I like to not only live on the outside, but paint corners. And he was giving me a lot of those calls, which is, a pitcher like mine, like dream of an umpire like him. So, yeah, it was just, I was hitting corners once he was giving me those calls.
The great Greg Maddox, his philosophy was pretty similar to what you just said. Early on, you pound the zone, you pound strikes, because the whole idea, if you're throwing strikes, you're going to get those borderline calls from an umpire at any level. If you're really struggling with your control, it's the same way. You're not going to get those strikes. So he would then start to work on the outside part of the plate, and then he would just go a little further out, a little further out, a little further out, and more times than not, he said that if I had consistently thrown strikes on that outside corner, legit strikes, then he could start to fade away from the plate and still get the call. So that's kind of pitching 101. You only went to 3 balls on 2 hitters. One of them, of course, was Nate, and he walked. I think one of them was in the 3rd or 4th inning. You went to a full count and retired the batter. That's phenomenal. What was really working for you against Keystone Oaks?
I would honestly say everything. I have a 3
Yeah.
pitch mix. And when you have all 3 pitches working and you can throw any pitch in any count, it's what you want as a pitcher. I was flipping curveballs with 0-0 counts, 1-0 counts, change-ups, and a bunch of different counts. Because when you go around the second or third time, they're going to be sitting fastball. They know it's probably my best pitch, so sometimes you got to work backwards on guys. And to be able to put those off-speed pitches in for strikes, it's I was very successful.
Yeah, well, yeah, you certainly were. Just a masterpiece, fun to watch. That's for sure. You strike out the sides in the first, as you mentioned. You struck out 2 in the second, 2 in the third, 2 in the fourth, 2 in the fifth. You strike out the sides in the 6th, and then the fly out the right. Ball pretty well hit too,
Yeah.
by the way. The strikeout of Bryce Altenbach, and then the walk to Nate, and then the pop up Shane Falcone, their cleanup hitter, pops up the first pitch. So I was recording everything. I throw it out there on Twitter. There were some comments, relatively negative, because were you were kind of frustrated. You were frustrated that you lost the perfect game. on a pitch you probably wish you had back as soon as it left your hand. You showed that emotion, and I had no problem with it. I made the comment that it's most times when it wasn't just you, it was the team. I think was a little, like, oh,
Yeah.
when on the walk, because most times someone throws a no hitter, there's jubilation. There's
Yeah.
jubilation amongst the whole team. That wasn't the case. And there was some critical remarks which I think were silly, because you made the point, and I want you to reiterate. You had just lost the perfect game, so I mean, you got all kind of things going through your head. We have seen major league pitchers unravel when they either lose a perfect game or lose a no hitter, and then the next guy, hits a 2-run homer or something like that. So, I mean, I thought your emotions were very understandable, because it had just happened.
Yeah. So like you said, people got to realize that was the very next pitch was the final out, and that video of me was put out. But I'm a competitor and I'm also a perfectionist. So I want to be the best of my ability. And, I just needed like 30 seconds
Yeah.
to, just get my thoughts together, get my frustration out. Cause after those 30 seconds, um, I was really happy that we got the win. I was happy how we swung it. And, I was just happy that it was a great team win for sure.
It was. You're throwing seeds at Keystone Oaks, throwing zeros, zeros, zeros. But as I mentioned, Nate Rowe, I thought, pitched a really strong game as well. You guys had chances. You had the 1-out double in the first, which goes to with what you were saying, how the striking out the sides and the top of the first led to confidence in your first at bat. Second and third, 1 out in the second, could not score. Second and third, after you were intentionally walked in the third, could not score. And then bases loaded left in the fourth inning. So you guys were knocking on the door. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, you guys are kind of not, I don't want to say dominating, but you guys are having the better of the play. Fluky things happen when you can't take advantage, when you can't score, when you're given opportunities early, and then you're left with the offseason saying, what if? But talking to you and then talking to Coach Fisher afterward, neither one of you were nervous. Neither one of you were frustrated. Yeah, it would have been nice to get some runs early, the way you were pitching, but you both had confidence in your offense.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of the same situations as we did with leaving runners on base, and sometimes it just takes one big swing. And we had that big swing when I walked, and then Spitznagel off the bat, it was gone. So we knew that big swing was coming, and we knew we eventually were going to get our runs because, if you're that close every time, like eventually we're going to break it open, I feel like.
Yeah.
Ooh, I don't know if you can hear me, but you cut out.
You had a great line. You had a great line when I asked you about Ryan's 2-run homer. You were at first base, and you said, "Well, I'll ask you. Do you remember what you said about Ryan and when he gets a hold of one?"
Yeah, you just know when it's gone off his bat. I mean, and I was on base to watch it, and you hear the dugout go crazy, you watch it off the bat, and it's just a surreal moment. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was a rocket. I mean,
Yeah.
it was he got all of it. And at that point, you guys are now up 2-0 in the bottom of the fifth. You're 6 outs away. You had to have been pretty pumped.
Yeah, I was ecstatic, honestly. Because I was already feeling great on the mound. But whenever you're a pitcher and get run support, it gives you that even more confidence that, I'm gonna shut these guys down. I'm gonna pound the strike zone and let my defense make plays behind me. And we all sort of, had momentum and confidence, and we just took it out throughout the whole entire game after that.
You guys got some time now after the victory over Keystone Oaks. Quarterfinals are slated in Class 3A for Tuesday. You guys will play fourth seed Freeport. Yellow Jackets, they have had a phenomenal season, only one loss. They knocked off Quaker Valley yesterday. Have you or your teammates done any study work yet on the Yellow Jackets?
We did a little bit. But we haven't looked into it too much. Like we don't have a game plan or anything. But our coaches will have a scouting report
Yes.
ready for us in the upcoming week. We just got to take it one day at a time to prepare for them, and hopefully we can come out with a win Tuesday.
Let's talk a little bit about your section. Pretty strong start. 3-1. Avonworth is the top seed. They took care of business as expected against Waynesburg Central. You guys are the number 5 seed. You take care of business against Keystone Oaks. Shadyside Academy came close. They are the 10th seed. They almost knocked off Riverside. A walk-off hit, won it for the Panthers 3-2. And how about the 15th seed? South Allegheny stuns number 2 Seton LaSalle 1-0, probably the biggest upset in any classification in round 1. Teams you're familiar with. So, in talking to your coaches beforehand, they were sort of kind of singing the praises, thinking, "Yeah, everyone knows about Avonworth, everyone knows about South Park, but the rest of this section's not bad," and it showed in round 1.
Yeah, there was no shock really that those South Allegheny and Shadyside competed and competed with those other
Yeah.
teams from other sections because we played them and yeah, maybe their record doesn't, look that good, but they're in a tough section, playing some good pitchers. And we knew if, they got a favorable matchup, which looks like South A did with Seton LaSalle, that, they can compete. And they won a 1-0 game, and that's what they're good at. They got 2 very good pitchers over there.
So the way the WPIAL sets up the quarterfinals and semifinals is they're either back-to-back days, or in this case, quarterfinals Tuesday and the semifinals are Thursday. It's been tempting to some coaches to maybe not throw their ace in the quarterfinals so that they have them for the semifinals. I'm not sure that too many coaches do that nowadays after several coaches in the past have been burned. Again, you don't have to divulge any secrets, but I'm assuming that you probably will get the ball again against Freeport. And if you guys are victorious, you'll have to go elsewhere. You will have to become more of a hitter than and a defensive fielder in the semifinals if you guys are able to get there. Do you like that format? Do you like that setup in that teams can't just ride one pitcher? It really challenges who's the best team.
Yeah, I do think it's the most fair way to do it. Me being, the pitcher for South Park, I wish I could pitch every single game. But obviously, I think you got to show that you got a number 2. And I'm confident to think that we do have a very strong number 2. So I do think it's a fair way to do it.
Yeah. Tuesday, 6 p.m. at Plum High School, South Park against Freeport. The 5-4 matchup should be a good one with the Eagles and the Yellow Jackets. So your days are numbered as a South Park Eagle. You will soon be graduating and moving on to bigger and hopefully better things. Heading north to play at Slippery Rock, and you will continue your baseball career. What is leading you to the Rock?
After the Riverside game last year, they found out about it and they wanted me up on a visit. So I went up on a visit, and you kind of know when something's like a perfect match.
Sure.
And we saw the campuses, dorms, and it was all nice. But me, I just care about the baseball side of it. And everyone knows how prestigious Slippery Rock is, and
Yes.
how good of a baseball program they are. So talking to the coaches, taking me around, looking at things. It was a perfect fit for me, and I can't wait to get to work already to play for them.
That's awesome. Going from the blue to the green at Slippery Rock. Speaking of blue, by the way, you guys have the old school jerseys, almost like the 70s Houston Astros, or maybe it was the 70s,
Yeah.
80s. Houston Astros, they had the rainbow, orange, red, yellow. You guys have the various shades of blue. Do you like those?
I honestly do like them.
Yeah.
There's mixed opinions about them. Some people on our team's like, absolutely not, but I like them. I mean, it got the light blue, the white, the dark blue, I like them.
It's a throwback, and
Yeah.
I'm old, so that means I'm old school, and I like them too. I like a good clean uniform. Like we did the Baldwin Moon game afterward. Moon's got the white with the white
Yeah.
pants, white
Mhm.
tops, just the old school clean look, if you will,
Yeah.
with the little red and black trim. I like those too, but I'm okay for something different as long as it's not crazy different. Like I used to tease the Neshanic coach that their pants look like pajamas. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just too. Don't want to go too far out there. All right, so soccer star, basketball star, baseball star. When did you start playing those three sports?
My parents would know better than me, but I think honestly like 3 or 4. I started playing all 3 of them sports. Those were the only
Wow.
sports I ever played, and I stuck with it all throughout these years.
Has baseball always been your favorite?
Yeah, I would probably say baseball has probably been my favorite, but honestly, whatever season it is,
Yeah.
I'm just like 100% in that season. But I always played travel baseball and all that, so it probably would be baseball.
Yeah, there's most of the kids who do play multiple or who are very good at multiple sports. It's that mindset of, okay, it's fall, okay, and then I'm playing football or soccer.
Yeah.
Winter, I love basketball. Oh, bad.
Mhm.
So that's totally understandable. Did you ever get like physically tired and like considered maybe not playing one of those sports just to give especially as you started to get older,
Yeah.
just to give your body a break?
Yeah, I would be exhausted some days because to put in perspective, like during basketball season, um, I would get out of school at like 10:30. I would go lift, go to a 2-hour basketball practice, go to another 2-hour baseball practice,
Yeah.
come home at like 9 to 10, eat, do homework, go to sleep, and do it again the next day. So it was, definitely tiring, but I love what I do. I love my sports, and I didn't want to change it.
Are you going to miss soccer and basketball, especially come fall and come winter next year?
Yeah, it's gonna be different because you kinda are in a routine. I've
Sure.
been in this routine for 4 years, and instead of, blocking soccer balls and shooting basketball, I'm gonna be throwing bullpens and hitting in batting cages, so it's gonna be an adjustment for sure.
Now, come clean, Cooper. I want you can be honest with me, right? Can you be honest with me?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, well, I thought I stumped you there. With those long days that you just recited, while tiring physically, it got you out of like doing chores around the house, right? I mean, like, would you hear mom say, Cooper, the garbage needs taken out? You're like, oh, I just came over from, oh, I'm exhausted. I got to study my history. Would
Yeah.
you would you use that a little bit to your advantage?
Yeah, sometimes, I mean, because I wouldn't even be in the house for her to even tell me to do these things. So, yeah, I guess you can say it got me out of a little bit.
Yeah, that's right. They're looking for help on something. That he's down the field somewhere. I don't know. So, yeah, it got you free from a lot of chores. So many sports year round injuries. What can you rip off like two or three of your most painful injuries, or have you, knock on wood, been able to be healthy for most of your career?
Yeah, knock on wood, but I've been very blessed. The last 4 years, I really haven't had a major injury. I may have had an injury that sidelined me a game or two, but it's never been like season ending. Um, so I'm definitely blessed to have that
Yeah,
because
no, that's awesome. That is really awesome. What do you plan on studying up at? Do you have a major picked out, or do you know what direction you want to go in career wise?
yeah, I'm majoring in finance.
Oh, nice. So you make a lot of money. You'll know what to do with all that money, right?
Uh, maybe,
Come
maybe.
on, man. Can't be blowing it.
Yeah,
That's not
I won't
that's
be
not
buying.
if you're studying finances and then you're going out and having wild parties once you get big money or something, that's not very smart.
Yeah, no, I
That's
won't be doing none of that.
all right. Fiscally responsible, right?
Yeah, yeah,
All right. Excellent. Well, again, phenomenal performance. Let's just run down the stats real quick. 7 innings pitched for young Cooper. 7 innings, no runs, no hits, one stinking walk, 15 strikeouts. Phenomenal. Just one over the limit in a 3-0 victory over Keystone Oaks. At the plate, only got a chance to swing the bat once. He doubled, was intentionally walked twice, walked one other time, but that walk cost Keystone Oaks as Ryan Spitznagel goes yard, 2-run homer, 3-0 South Park. South Park against Freeport coming up Tuesday. Cooper, appreciate it. Been admiring you for part of your high school career. Haven't had a chance to see you. Marvelous scholastic career. Keep it going. Still a lot of work to be done, right?
yeah. Thank you.
All right. Cooper Hochendoner, senior from South Park, our WPIAL Baseball Player of the Week for Week 1 of the postseason. We thank him for joining us. We thank our friends at Edgar Snyder and Associates as well. Thank you to Chris Lackner, our producer. I'm Don Rebel. Thank you for joining us, the Rebel Yell podcast on the Trib Live High School Sports Network.